Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, will be deposed. And I suspect that that might be making Ryan Reynolds extremely nervous, and I'll tell you why. They want the judge to agree to an attorney's eyes only designation to protect, as they term it, highly confidential information that could destroy the careers of the third-party people that are involved.
Ryan Reynolds fired from Marvel say it ain't so. Yup. The man behind the Merc with a mouth is reportedly out after a major behind-the-scenes controversy first. There's the $400 million lawsuit involving his wife Blake Lively and director Justin Baldoni, and then a joke in Deadpool 3 that apparently crossed the line. Marvel allegedly cut the joke, Reynolds fought back, and Disney, well, they weren't having it now. Rumors say Disney is phasing him out, reducing his creative control, toning down Deadpool's edgy humor, and even considering a multiverse Deadpool replacement. Some insiders claim Marvel could introduce a new Deadpool from another timeline, one that fits Disney's family-friendly brand.
It looks like Ryan Reynolds effed around and found out in the worst way possible, because his role in the ongoing mess between his wife and director Justin Baldoni might have just cost him his very juicy deal at Marvel. Word on the streets is that Ryan just got fired from his role as Deadpool, and get this. The decision came all the way from the higher-ups at Disney, which is the parent company of Marvel and the MCU. This drama is costing him a lot, but while fans are mad at Blake for ruining his life, Ryan seems to have all the smoke for the wrong person entirely, and that's his best friend, or rather his soon-to-be ex-best friend, Hugh Jackman. Word on the streets is that Ryan is furious at Hugh for not standing up for him when he got fired. He expected Hugh to have his back and help him get his job back, but it looks like Hugh made the smart decision to get his nose out of Ryan's mess and focus on his own career. Well, Ryan is not taking this betrayal well, and it looks like this might be the end of his friendship with Hugh. But why on earth was he expecting Hugh to defend him? And does Hugh know something about this situation that we don't? Let's break this down. The wild part about Ryan Reynolds getting fired and getting smoked by fans is that the drama didn't involve him directly in the first place. The drama was between his wife Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, that as the perfect husband, Ryan had to jump in to save his wife, and he ended up losing a very lucrative gig as a result. Now, I'm not saying that he shouldn't have defended his wife, but given how guilty Blake looks, there are so many different ways that he could have handled this that didn't involve this kind of public scandal. If you're wondering why on earth Disney would get involved in this beef and even fire Ryan over it, it's because all artists who sign contracts with Disney or their subsidiaries like Marvel have to sign a morality clause. For context, a morality clause is a contractual provision that essentially allows a party to terminate an agreement, such as an employment contract, if the other party engages in any sort of scandalous or offensive behavior. Companies often use this clause to fire employees who have acted in a way that puts the company in a negative light. These clauses use especially vague language, such as public disrepute, humiliation, contempt, scandal, or ridicule, which in effect gives the company freedom to terminate a contract if the other party does anything to make them look bad. Disney is known for having one of the strongest and strictest morality clauses in Hollywood. And let me tell you, those people do not play around when it comes to that clause. What's more, it was reported that Disney recently updated its morality clause to include some new terms. According to an insider, the new language allows the studio to terminate for any act or omission that could cause Disney to incur public disrepute or may cause offense to the community or any substantial group thereof. Because the terms of the clause are very vague, it means that Disney can pick and choose how they interpret what they believe to have brought public disrepute to the company, and we have seen this work so many times. Y'all, remember ABC News anchors Amy Robach and TJ Holmes and their scandalous affair. ABC is a subsidiary of Disney, and Amy and TJ got fired from their jobs less than a week after news of the affair broke, even though they were both consenting adults. Who got involved? That's not all, because Halle Bailey also suffered as a result of the morality clause. Even though she didn't get fired, it was reported that Disney deliberately refused to push her for any major awards for her role as Ariel in The Little Mermaid because she got pregnant out of wedlock. There were reports that she was supposed to be at least nominated for an Oscar for the song Part of Your World, but Disney refused to push or support her because she was an unwed mother, which does not align with the company's values. So yeah, it's not crazy to think that they would let go of Ryan because this chaotic drama between him, Justin, and Blake has been going on for a little too long, and the company execs were no longer comfortable with it, because it painted them in a bad light. That's not the only reason he got fired, though, because Justin also filed a motion in court accusing Disney of helping Ryan bully him using Disney's platform. He claimed that the character, Nice Pooloo, that was introduced at the end of Deadpool vs. Wolverine was meant to mock him. According to reports, Brian Friedman sent a legal letter to Marvel boss Kevin Feige and Disney CEO Bob Iger, accusing Reynolds of taking direct aim. During the segment, in the scene where Reynolds plays a Deadpool variant, Nisul, he says, "Where in the God's name is the intimacy coordinator?" To top it off, he praises Lady Deadpool for snapping back after having a baby while remarking feminism. Baldoni reportedly believes it was a meticulous swipe at him for touting himself as a feminist during It Ends With Us. Promotions, Friedman's letter demands, Disney and Marvel keep all documents relating to or reflecting a deliberate attempt to mock, harass, ridicule, intimidate, or bully Baldoni through the character of Nice. It also hints at potential legal claims like interference with contracts and civil extortion. Now, we don't know if the motion is going to stand up in court, but Disney hates being dragged into this type of mess, and they reportedly took it out on Ryan. And get this, there have been reports that Ryan already had some issues with the network before now because of his very high rates that run into millions of dollars. It was reported that Ryan got paid about $30 million for his role in Deadpool vs. Wolverine. Now, I know that the movie made over $1 billion at the box office, but still, Ryan's high rates were allegedly a sore spot for the producers. He's also rumored to have been paid about $20 million for Deadpool 1 and almost double that for Deadpool 2, and that's just in upfront fees. When you add his percentage of the profits, his paycheck gets even higher. And allegedly, the higher-ups at the network did not like that. And when you add this to him breaking the morality clause by getting involved in this messy drama, well, you can see where this is going. Reports of him getting canned first started going around a couple of days ago when an insider tweeted,
In 2012, Blake and Ryan did indeed get married at a plantation in South Carolina, which features 9 slave cabins and an area called Slave Street. It was owned by the Boone family, who enslaved around 100 people, forced them to live in these cabins, and made them work on the plantation. It was then taken over by the Horlbeck family, who at the time purchased both the plantation and the enslaved people. The enslaved people were then forced to work for the Horlbeck's brick company, and it's recorded that each enslaved person was forced to make 1 brick every 3 minutes for 365 days a year. Boone Hall has 9 slave cabins in total, which have been preserved so that people can come along and be educated about the horrors that Black Americans faced.
Yeah, it explains why fans are now giving them the side eye.
All of this brouhaha around Blake Lively right now made me want to revisit the plantation wedding controversy because I don't think it's been explained well in the media. So Blake and Ryan got married at the Boone Hall plantation in South Carolina in the United States. This plantation appeared in the film The Notebook as the main character Allie's family's summer home. Now, plantations in the USA and other former British colonies in the Americas have a dark history. To make a long story short, in the early 17th century, English settlers were offered large plots of land as a reward for exploring these uncharted territories, which were the Americas. These plots of land were cultivated to produce agriculture and eventually became plantations. To maintain obtain the plantation, settlers bought people from West Africa and trafficked them to the Americas. They were enslaved and used as free manpower to enrich the settlers. After the Civil War in America, the plantation system essentially collapsed, partially because of the end of all that free labor. Now, in the modern era, some of the plantation homes that remain were transformed into historic sites for people to visit and learn about. This one, which was Thomas Jefferson's home. Dr. Etta Fields Black, professor of history at Carnegie Mellon University, states that a plantation must interpret the entire history of all of the people who lived on the property. In other words, don't just show this without any discussion of this, talk about the full history. However, she also said that this shouldn't deter anybody from appreciating the antebellum architecture of plantation homes or the gardens surrounding them, because it may provide a chance to spotlight the beautiful work of the enslaved crafters that has been largely erased from architectural history. So yes, go ahead, look and learn about plantations. But should you get married at one? Some want the antebellum aesthetic without having to think about what might have gone into building that aesthetic.
However, to be fair, Ryan did apologize a couple of years ago for that poorly thought-out decision, claiming that he and Blake had another wedding to make up for it. He said it's impossible to reconcile what we saw at the time was a wedding venue. On Pinterest, what we saw after was a place built upon devastating tragedy. Years ago, we got married again at home. But shame works in weird ways. A giant effing mistake like that can either cause you to shut down or it can reframe things and move you into action. It doesn't mean you won't F up again, but repatterning and challenging lifelong social conditioning is a job that doesn't end. Don't even get me started on Blake's history of getting linked with some of the worst and most problematic men in the industry, like Harvey Weinstein, who she was very close to before his downfall. She has been called out for this weird relationship as far back as 2009, when blogger Lainey Gossip wrote every couple of years or so, Harvey likes to pick a young actress, turn her into a star, or try to at least. It happened with my Gwyneth, the Alba B word. Had her chance.
Here, I want to ask you about this avalanche of information that's coming out about Harvey Weinstein, because the question is, I mean, you're in the industry. How do you think Hollywood moves on from this point? How do you think it can seize this moment and turn it into something positive?
I think it's important that we acknowledge that this isn't just Hollywood. This is so much more global, and it's not just, oh, guess what? This is what's happening to women suddenly. This has been happening since the beginning of time, but now people are finally talking about it. And I think that that's what's important, is that where I never had experiences like this with Harvey myself. I only had positive ones with him, but that goes to show where, you know, you don't always see what's going on behind closed doors. So I think that when people come forward, that your bosses, you have to acknowledge it. You know, there have been moments where I've come forward, where other people have come forward with things that just feel little and you're not sure. But when your bosses tell you that this is not a priority to them, then you think, okay, well then this must not be that big of a deal. Maybe what I'm complaining about isn't really that big of a deal. And it is.
And you're right, that's every single workplace.
Yep.
But wait, there's more. Blake definitely turned heads when she made the controversial decision to collaborate with Woody Allen, a choice that had people talking for all the wrong reasons. Back in 2016, she took on a role in his film Café Society, which ended up being one of his final movies before Hollywood finally distanced itself from him due to the deeply unsettling allegations against him. And let's not pretend Blake was clueless about his history, because by that point the accusations had been public knowledge for years. She knew exactly what had been said about the way he allegedly mistreated his stepdaughters, yet she still went ahead and worked with him anyway. What really had people side-eyeing her, though, wasn't just her decision to star in the film, but the fact that she openly defended it. Instead of acknowledging the controversy, she doubled down, insisting that working with Woody was a positive experience for her. It was a bold move, to say the least, and one that left many questioning where she truly stood on the matter. To make matters even messier, Ronan Farrow, Woody's own son, put Hollywood on blast with a powerful article in The Hollywood Reporter titled, "My Father, Woody Allen, and the Danger of Unasked Questions." In it, he called out the industry for continuously giving his father a pass despite the serious allegations against him. Naturally, since Blake had chosen to work with Woody, people wanted to hear her thoughts on the piece. But instead of tackling the issue directly, she sidestepped it completely, rather than addressing the deeper concerns Ronan raised.